Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get this underway here now. For best viewing and audio experience, we recommend that you use Chrome as your browser during the event to minimize the number of open windows you may have. Welcome to today's webinar. We know your time is valuable and we appreciate you joining us. Our session will begin shortly, but let's cover a few housekeeping items before we dive into our RCTab. Due to the number of attendees, we have muted participants to reduce audio interference. For better viewing, you may expand or minimize your menu control panel by clicking on the orange tab located on the left edge of the panel. If you have technical issues, please use the chat feature located at the bottom of your control panel to send us a message and we will try to assist you. Attendees may also submit questions or comments using the chat feature. Staff will answer any questions we are unable to address during the live session through follow-up correspondence. A recording of this event and associated materials will be placed on the Ranked Choice Voting Resource Center's website as soon as possible. For those not familiar with the Ranked Choice Voting Resource Center, we provide a compilation of best practices and firsthand experiences from jurisdictions that have used this method of voting with a focus on election administration. For our website, rcvresources.org, and other content have been developed as educational tools for election administrators, policymakers, voters, candidates, and others. My name is Renee Rojas, and my fellow presenters today are Hilton Edgingfield, Trina Cook, and Gregory Miller. I am the Technical Program Manager, primarily responsible for RCTab, and was previously with Benton County, Washington Elections Office as their Election System Manager. Hilton Edgingfield is a scientist and engineer with a passion for solving the climate crisis, voting system reform, full-stack software development, algorithms, and perpetual learning. He is always looking for new problems to solve, ways to improve efficiency, and opportunities to collaborate and build beautiful things with other developers. Trina Cook began her municipal career in 2018 as the deputy recorder for Heber City, Utah. 9 months later, she was moved into the recorder position. She is a certified municipal clerk with the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. In 2021, the Heber City Council voted to participate in the pilot program for the ranked choice voting, providing Trina with the opportunity to learn another election process and utilize the RCTab tabulation process. Last, but certainly not least, is Gregory Miller. He co-founded the nonprofit, nonpartisan 501c3 Open Source Election Technology, or OSET Institute, in November 2006. He leads all aspects of the Institute's resource development, corporate partner R&D alliances, public outreach, election official stakeholder relations, and government and legal affairs. Now, let's get started. To kick off the webinar, I'll start by covering some basics of RCTab. Hold on here. RCTab is a 100% open source tabulation tool developed to help jurisdictions conduct ranked choice voting elections. RCTab is free to use, there's no charge for using it, and anyone can download it. RCTab is also open source, which means that the source code, the code that RCTab is programmed in and uses to run, is available for anyone to look at. So, how does RCTab work? Well, RCTab works by taking a jurisdiction's cast vote record, or CVR file, which is a digital representation of all the votes cast in an election, and then conducts the round-by-round count based off that CVR. This is the most simplistic how it works sentence. Some additional details. The jurisdiction must first adjudicate their race, clearing up any write-ins, overvotes, and any sort of ballot issues that may occur. They then tabulate those results in their voter system and generate a cast vote record file. The jurisdiction then sets the parameters for their contest in RCTab. Parameters such as RCV race method, race candidates, voter error rules, and etc. Once RCTab is configured and a CVR file is uploaded, tabulation can begin and results are produced. That's RCTab in a nutshell. Additionally, RCTab is currently protected by the GPL version 3 license. This means we must follow the open source requirements listed above, plus the additional requirement that if anyone takes the code and modifies it, they must release their product under GPL version 3 and state any significant changes to the code. Finally, RCTab is compatible with most of the major voting system vendors out there, which makes it easy to implement with little to no cost. To give you a little more background on RCTab, I'll discuss a little bit of how it came to fruition. Work on RCTab, previously known as the Ranked Choice Voting Universal Tabulator, began in 2016 after a fair vote survey found one hesitation in support of RCV among election admins was the lack of way to tabulate results. Chris Hughes and George Gilbert spearheaded the project for fair vote and began by collecting information from jurisdictions across the U.S. on the various laws and regulations jurisdictions must follow in an RCV election. Then, in 2017, the Ranked Choice Voting Resource Center branched off and away from fair vote, and it made sense for the Resource Center to continue the work on RCTab. Later in that same year, Brightspots, a group of software developers, connected with the Resource Center as they were looking for a way to use their skills as developers to help democracy. That brings us to the development of RCTab. The source code for our RCTab is hosted on GitHub. GitHub is a code hosting platform that will host your open source software for free, as well as help with collaboration between developers. RCTab has been hosted on GitHub since the beginning, and each one of its previous builds is available on the GitHub repository. Now, RCTab is written in Java. That's the language the source code is written in, and this has multiple benefits. One, Java is a common programming language and has been around for 27 years. It's such a common programming language that most of us encounter it daily. It's easy to learn and write code in, and there are a ton of resources out there to help you learn how to code and understand the language. Java is also cross-platform, which means you can write it once and run it on almost any other platform with little to no difficulty. This, of course, means that RCTab is compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux systems. Now, our developers are a trio known as Brightspots and are largely responsible for the back-end work of developing RCTab. Without their hard work and hours of volunteer work, RCTab would not be where it is today. Brightspots consists of Jonathan Moldover, Louis Eisenberg, and Hilton Edgingfield. With us today, we have 1/3 of Brightspots here to give us a developer's perspective on RCTab. Hey, Hilton.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You're coming through clear.
Great. Yeah, hi, everybody. I guess just a quick history on this project. Louis and John kicked it off initially back in 2016. And then in 2017, I saw a talk at my workplace, Google, given by Rob from Fairvote. He's the CEO of Fairvote. And it was a really inspiring talk, and we had lunch afterwards, and he connected me with this project. And when I joined, it was a very kind of rudimentary command line only utility. So the main thing that I worked on over the last few years was building a user interface for it to make it more user-friendly and easy to use. So yeah, I think we're really, really happy with how much progress we've seen. Seeing it used by the state of New York, or sorry, by the city of New York and other states as well has been extremely gratifying and definitely worth the hundreds of hours we've put into it. If anybody has any specific technical questions, I might be able to field them. But Renee, I don't know if that would be more for a Q&A at the end.
Yeah, no, I mean, just for example, why was something like RCTab important to you as a developer? Why choose to get involved and volunteer your free time for something like this?
Yeah, I believe that the climate crisis is the most important issue that we need to deal with in our era, and I see we definitely need help from governments, in my view, and we're completely blocked at the federal level on taking any sort of action, it seems. So
Right.
I'm definitely really interested in voting system reform. I think that ranked choice voting, although not a perfect system, it is far, far better than first past the post, leads to much more democratic outcomes, leads to a lot more compromising and actually making progress on things. So that's kind of been my motivation.
And that's kind of when I think about the end goal or your goal as Bright Spots with RCTab is kind of improving the democratic process, giving people more choice, kind of thing.
Yeah, basically getting out of this entrenched situation we're in politically and making progress on these really vital issues.
Of course, no, that's admirable. And finally,
sorry, I should say also that that's just my own personal motivation for it. Lewis and John have different motivations, I'm sure.
right.
And the thing that I really like about RCV is that it is nonpartisan and it should be welcomed by people across the political spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I agree with you. That is kind of what drew me here. It does seem that everybody can benefit from ranked choice voting. And finally, as a kind of a closing question here, where do you want to see RCTab progress in the future as you do improve development and move forward with it over the next few years?
Yeah, I mean the idea is that we can we can make converting to RCV as cost efficient as possible. So we don't want cost to be a barrier for any cities, states, or the federal government to adopt it. So yeah, that's kind of the end goal. So the more cities, the more states that are using RCTab, the better, because we're
Mm-hmm.
free, we're open source, and we're happy to work with a lot of the vendors.
Right. No, I think that's 100% admirable. I agree with you. I think it's important to offer the tools required to conduct a ranked choice voting election. It's so new that I feel like a lot of vendors don't offer anything, or that there isn't really an easy way to tabulate votes. So we appreciate what Bright Spots has done, and I think it's a really cool project that you've all done it free. Cool. Well, thank you, Hilton.
Yep.
We'll move on here. That brings us to RCTab testing and lab certification. The current version of RCTab is version 1.2.0, which has been tested by multiple voting system test labs, or VSTLs. There are currently 2 federally certified VSTLs in the US, and they are Pro V&V and SLI. Previous builds of RCTab were tested by Pro V&V over the last few years, with version 1.2 being tested in December 2020. Additionally, SLI tested version 1.2 in April and May of last year, 2021. Now, state certification of a voting system is a little trickier as the testing requirements vary state by state. There's no one-size-fits-all testing standard for all 50 states. In fact, state agencies and state statutes are largely responsible for outlining the requirements for voting systems within their state. However, RCTab is currently used in 14 jurisdictions across 4 different states. Our most recent big win, which Hilton briefly mentioned, was getting RCTab certified in New York City, where it was used in their first citywide ranked choice voting election on June 22nd, 2021, for partisan primaries of various municipal offices. Next up, I'd like to introduce a user from one of our jurisdictions, Trina Cook of Heber City, Utah. She's here to tell us a little bit about her experiences using RCTab for the 2021 Heber City Municipal City Council races and mayoral races. Hey, Trina.
Hi, Renee. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. No, thank you for hopping in and giving some feedback on your experiences with RCTab. Just briefly, how did you discover? Well, first off, tell us a little bit about ranked choice voting and how it got to Heber City.
Well, let's see. Ranked choice voting was being talked about when I first started in the deputy recorder role. A few of the cities in the neighboring county were the first 2 in Utah to participate in the 2019 election. And the 2 recorders there that ran the elections were a part of a recorder group that I am a member of. We have training meetings once a month. And so we've got to follow closely their experience with the ranked choice voting process. And it just so happened that the Heber City mayor also was a part of the ranked choice voting resources team. And so she knew about it. The issue of whether to participate in the pilot program came up for our city council at the last election, and they voted to give it a try. So I got to learn all about the implementation of the ranked choice voting system last year. And
so now you're going to be using ranked choice voting. It pops up, and how did you discover RCTab? How did that come across, and how did you find out about it and that it was free and that it was downloadable?
Oh, well, that was a big question for our council, and the cost of running the different type of ballot. And so we looked into it. Utah County is not the county that we belong to. We're in the Wasatch County, neighboring county, as I mentioned, but they offered to help Heber City through the process as they were helping the other cities in their jurisdiction as well. I believe that they're the ones who introduced me to the RCTab and helped me through the whole process, as well as someone from your program reached out to me. It was very, you all were very supportive in getting through that whole election for me.
Well, we're here to help people do ranked choice voting. We're here to help them administrate it and make sure they find success in tabulating results. So basically, how did you kind of integrate it in your process? I understand you conducted your election, tabulated everything, and then you do just on election night, post-election night, did you post results? What was the process?
We did it on election night. We were able to. The Wasatch County clerk uses the ES&S system. So she ran the initial tabulation, and the results were transferred to a drive that I had to, we had to have a specified laptop. I'm not sure the lingo, I'm sorry, that didn't have any internet access to make sure the secure tabulation process was able to be used. So we happened to be our building's next door to the Wasatch County building. So I just walked over to my secure laptop with our thumb drive and uploaded the results from the ES&S system. It was literally just a few, clicks, and it was uploaded. We got it posted to our website. You can pull up our website. It still shows on our website the election results. Our mayoral race actually didn't use the ranked choice voting because we ended up only having 2 candidates. So it was just implemented for the city council. But it was very interesting. It was such a close race. And the program you guys had just helped to explain the results when there were a lot of concerned citizens on such a close race. It was brilliant.
Good. Well, I'm happy to hear that it helped out. Before we wrap up, is there any major takeaway you have from use of RCTab, or anything you'd like any jurisdiction out there considering using RCTab or trying to integrate it into their process?
No, like Hilton said, I think the nonpartisan option that ranked choice voting brings is something our polarized climate of politics could really use right now. I think it's a great option. It works, and I think it gives everybody the opportunity to become politically active if they want.
Right, by offering more choice.
Yes.
I mean, that's my personal insight, yeah.
Yeah, and RCTab was great to work with. I would recommend it to anyone, yeah.
Awesome, well, glad to hear it. Thank you, Trina.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Moving on, now it's time for our demo portion of the webinar. For this demo, I'll be using some real-world data from Maine's 2018 gubernatorial Democratic primary. I selected this data because it's available for download from RCTab's GitHub page, so feel free to hop on and give it a try. Now, if there are any questions as I work through the demo, feel free to throw it in the Q&A box, and I'll try to get to them if we have some time during the presentation. If not, we'll get to them at the end of the presentation and answer questions at the Q&A portion. Just bear with me for one moment. Okay, so to download RCTab, you'll start at the Ranked Choice Voting Resource Center's website, rcvresources.org. Hover over Tools, you get the drop-down, and select RCTab. This is the splash page for RCTab with some additional info, as well as a link to a visualizer, RCViz, which uses JSON files produced by RCTab to produce visualizations, and we can kind of touch on that a little bit later. Next, go ahead and click on the Download RCTab button, which takes you to the GitHub releases page. GitHub, as I mentioned earlier, is where the source code lives, and our developers work on issues found in RCTab. The most recent build of RCTab or version is located on the top of the resources screen, or the releases screen, with version 1.2 being the latest. Here you'll see information, on the current version, as well as the release notes, such as new features, updates, and of course, bug fixes. Moving down to the assets section, we have a few different files that are available for download, such as a certification letter for RCTab, some documentation, and 2 links for each operating system. You'll notice each version of RCTab has the actual download in a zip, as well as a SHA-512. SHA-512 is a hash code, which is a cryptographic code that you can compare the official build of RCTab to. If a copy of RCTab has been altered in any way, the hash code that RCTab produces from your correct operating system will not match the version listed here. So to download RCTab, you'll want to click on the link that matches your OS, and that'll start the download. As you can see, I've started it here before. And if you're not on Mac, you get the zip folder. You'll have to extract the zip and save it somewhere convenient. I've saved it to my desktop. I've already downloaded it for this demonstration. So as you can see, I have RCV folder up here. Open the RCV folder, and you'll see some files here. This is a little something we're working on, but to make it more intuitive. But for now, open the bin folder. And what you're looking for is a file named RCV. It's going to be on Windows. It's going to be a Windows batch file. If you're on Mac, you're looking for the Unix executable file. Now, one tip that might be helpful if you're going to be using this in an election is to go ahead and save this as a shortcut to your desktop. Send to, where is that button? Well, you can put a shortcut on your desktop by right-clicking and then just sending one to your desktop, and that way you can launch it from there. So let's go get RCTab open. When you first start RCTab, you'll get this box popping up here. And then here is RCTab. By default, RCTab will start you out on the Contest Info tab. Tabs are on the top here, and you'll want to work from left to right, filling in each required fields as you move through each tab. It's best practice to fill out as much information as possible, but any field that's marked with an asterisk here is a required field. Additionally, there is a hint column here on the right, which changes depending on what tab you're in. And this is actually pretty helpful. When I first started playing around with RCTab, this broke down each field as I was running through them. Additionally, you'll see a black message box down here at the bottom of RCTab. As RCTab does the work, it will inform you of its progress here, as well as any errors it may encounter. Now, I'm not going to fill out every field for a reason when we'll get to that. But for now, We'll just throw in some information here to kind of get it set up and get going. I've entered my contest name as well as the date, and then we'll move on to CVR Files. For this election that we've grabbed here, they used ES&S. And you'll notice that depending on the vendor that you select, different fields will become inactive. That's because every provider configures their CVRs differently, and RCTab will adjust accordingly to the information that each one requires. Back to ES&S. We'll select our file here. And you'll want to note any overvote label, undervote label, or WriteIn label. It needs to appear, or it needs to be written down exactly as it appears in the file. So for example, WriteIn will appear so. And you can also treat any blank cells as undeclared WriteIn. Now you'll notice here these columns or these boxes are required, and I'll show you how that corresponds to the cast vote record. Here is what the cast vote record looks like. And when it asks for the first vote column, it's asking for where your first vote will appear. It moves sequentially, so it's not cell numbers. They're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's where our first vote columns appear. Same with the first vote row, 1, 2, as well as ID column and precinct column. Now that that's done, we'll go ahead and add our CVR, and that's been added. Now moving on to the candidate tab, you'll need to fill in each candidate's name exactly as it appears on the CVR, as well as any code. Oh, my copy and paste didn't want to cooperate there. There we go. As you can see, I wasn't able to enter in Donna J. Dion. It has to be how it appears on the cast vote record file. And you can add any associated code with the candidate if it's available. Additionally, you have the option to exclude a candidate if you click this checkbox. This will exclude the candidate from the race, but you will have to add this is kind of a rare scenario, like if they drop out after the race, anything like that. Let's go ahead and add Donna. And there are more candidates on this race, but once again, I'll come back to that. I'm not going to spend time filling them all in here because I'll show you why here in a little bit. Next is winning rules. Depending on the type of RCV election being conducted, you'll see various fields gray in and out. We have a few options here. These are the most common in the US. But as you can see, depending on which type of ranked choice voting race you're conducting, different fields will become active and inactive. For the purposes of this demo, we're going to use single winner. Now, for minimum vote threshold, this is the minimum number of votes somebody needs to stay in the election. It's only really used in Cambridge, Massachusetts, but the option's there. Same with batch elimination, which can be used to eliminate candidates that have no mathematical chance of winning the election. And there's also continue until 2 candidates remain, where, you know, in a single winner election, you finish counting as soon as someone has the majority of votes. However, this checkbox enables counting to continue until 2 candidates are left, showing you the top 2 candidates in the election. Finally, we have a few options for tie-breaking mode, what to do in case of a tie. I like random. I prefer the randomness of life, but it really depends on your jurisdictional rules or state statute for the correct course of action when encountering a tie. For example, if you are required to hit stop counting and ask, RCTab will stop counting, pop up a prompt, and then you'll follow your jurisdictional rules for what to do in case of a tie. For the purposes of this demonstration, we'll go ahead and just do random. It requires a random seed, which is just a digit. And then we can move on to voter error rules. This tells RCTab what to do in case of an error on the ballot. Once again, rules vary by jurisdiction and are typically set up by statute or law. For example, some jurisdictions say a ballot is exhausted as soon as you hit an overvote, because there's not really a good way to tell which candidate they prefer and where in the rankings. For this demonstration, we'll just always skip to next rank. Additionally, you can adjust your consecutive skip rankings and how many are allowed. One seems to kind of be the standard, and they must be in a row for this to end the count on the ballot. But for this, we're going to select unlimited. Finally, we have output. And output is where your results are going to generate and where they'll be saved. I've already created a folder here. And we have a few options. We can tabulate by precinct, which will give you a summary of results based on your precincts. Additionally, you can generate a CDF file or CDF JSON, which is the common data format. This creates a new file of the cast vote record itself as a CDF, as required by the new versions of VVSG. We're going to leave these unchecked for now. Once RCTab is configured, you'll select tabulation and then validate. Validation will confirm that everything that is required is completed. If you skipped a voter error rule or forgot to add your CVR correctly, the message box down here will tell you. But see, everything here seems to be fine. And once you're done, you click File and Save. This will save a configuration JSON, which is great because this allows you to set up the election ahead of time. And you could configure RCTab during, say, your LNA testing and use that configuration JSON on election night. I'll give you an example. Remember I said here I only added one candidate. Contest info, I added the bare minimum. Well, it's because I went ahead and already created a demo JSON. And as you see here, it loads in the rest of the information that I filled in previously, including my CVR file. All my candidates have been added. Winning rules are set up, or voter error rules, as well as output. Now this is great. Like I said, it saves you a lot of time and you can complete it ahead of time. So on election night, you just load your configuration JSON, add any new cast vote records required, and get right into tabulation. We'll go ahead and validate this one more time. Get a message here. Validation is complete. Then we hit tabulate. And you'll see here in the message box that we have some activity. RCTab is working through the process of tabulation, informing you of the steps as it proceeds. And once it's complete, just give this a moment here. There we go. Tabulation session completed, completed. Results written to my file here. Now, once you've went ahead and tabulated your race, we have a few, as you can see, I did a little practice run before I came here, but you'll receive 3 different files from RCTab. The first one here is a summary of your results. Close that. And this is an easy human readable results file. It'll give you all the information you entered in the contest info, as well as declaring the winner, Janet Mills. In each round, it will break down who was eliminated and a count of their votes as each round proceeded. As you can see, in round 7, Janet Mills was elected. We'll close that. Additionally, you're also given an audit file. And once again, this is human readable. That will explain to you how RCTab proceeded through each round and as it counted the votes through the process. It's not a very fun read, but it's there. And finally, a results JSON, which can be used with RCViz, which is a really cool visualizer. You just, you'd have to create an account. It's free and they're not going to send you spam or anything like that. But this will allow you to upload this JSON into RCViz, and it'll give you a really cool breakdown of how everything processed throughout the election. Okay. Oh, let me go ahead and that pretty much concludes our demonstration here. Let me see if there's anything. So just looking at the quick chat here, is there a way to tabulate multiple contests at the same time? Unfortunately, there's not. You'll want to do one race at a time. But a cool thing about RCTab is if you're multi-jurisdictional or if you're conducting a statewide race, RCTab can take cast vote records from different vendors and do it all at once for the same race. Approximately how long does it take to get RCTab set up prior to the import of CVRs? To be honest with you, it really doesn't take that long. Once you're comfortable with RCTab and you know what each field is kind of asking, it does not take long at all. I mean, I think I configured RCTab in probably like 5 minutes. Let me see here. So I think that pretty much ends Q&A for RCTab. So let's go ahead and get back to our presentation. And once again, if you have any questions that are kind of sticking in your head or something comes to you as we continue on, feel free to enter it in the Q&A. Let's get back to our slides. Okay. That brings us to the future of RCTab. The windows are all over the place here. Now, as we move forward with RCTab and development, we're constantly working on improving it and what it can do for jurisdictions across the nation. This includes bug fixes, enhancements, and basically just delivering an overall better product. Version 1.3 is currently underway. We're kind of in the planning phase and getting that moving. With that in mind, we're also looking at changing the type of licensing we use to encourage integration with major vendors across the U.S. Because our goal with RCTab, the overall goal, is to make it as available to as many jurisdictions as possible. It's free, it's a solid product, and we want people to use it if they're conducting ranked choice voting elections, or it's an option. We're not trying to get everybody to use it, but it's an option there, especially if funding is kind of an issue. Finally, additionally, the future is looking bright for ranked choice voting, and we expect implementation of RCTab to grow as it expands to more jurisdictions across the U.S. As you see, we have a few there that our ranked choice voting is kind of expanding to, or potential areas and jurisdictions. Finally, the Ranked Choice Voting Resource Center has partnered with the OSET Institute to further the development of RCTab as open source software. And for some details on that, I'm going to go ahead and pass this on to Gregory Miller, and he'll fill you in on all the important, pertinent parts of our partnership. Go ahead, Greg. Oh, I think you're on mute there, Greg. Let's see if I can unmute you.
How about now?
Oh, we got you loud and clear.
Hey, Renee, thanks for having me on today. Sorry about that technical difficulty. I'm recognizing I can actually command things here, so
all right,
I'll do that. There we go. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. We're really excited to share a little bit about what we think is going to be a powerful partnership for the progress of RCTab and ranked choice voting. To spend a few short minutes on some comments here. The conversation is really the most valuable thing, so we want to get to Q&A as quickly as we can. You know, the Open Source Election Technology Institute has been around since 2007. We're largely under the radar until now, given the nature of our work. And there's three reasons for that. The Open Source Election Technology Institute, or OSET Institute, has been training on, and we are trained on, building public infrastructure of election technology that is verifiable, accurate, secure, and transparent. And that last element is key. You see, transparency has shaken the foundations of the legacy proprietary industry. So we needed to keep our heads down and do the necessary R&D work that we have been conducting to build this thing we call ElectOS, and really not waste the precious public money on needless legal squabbles. The second reason that we've been under the radar is the nature of our work is disruptive, quite frankly. RCTab is disruptive, and we think that's cool, but disruptive is not a word that feels good in the world of those who'd rather sustain the status quo. And I kid you not, this has involved foreign state interests who have poked and prodded and tried to get at what we're doing. Finally, there are several members of our operation provide consultative services on election cybersecurity to various elements of the national security apparatus, some on a classified basis during that period of 2016 to 2021. Those folks we work with actually appreciate our keeping our heads down rather than attempting to burnish a brand. So that was another reason to stay down. But we're rapidly growing and gaining significant momentum and coming above the radar now. And part of that is expanding our collaborations. One of our most significant collaborations to date, for example, has been Rock the Vote. For the past decade, we have been designing, developing, curating, expanding the third-party registration voting platform that they themselves use and share with many GOTV partners across the country, everyone from the NAACP to Voto Latino to the RNC, DNC, broad expanse. And it is, of course, entirely open source code. So today, we're announcing a new partnership with the Ranked Choice Voting Resource Center. And we're pretty excited about it because it's going to combine the expertise of the Resource Center with our public benefit technology-driven R&D organization. You can see that there's a good match of things here. And what happened was that the folks at RC Center approached us about some assistance, and one thing led to another. And we said, you know, we might be able to bring some considerable resource to help mounting a lot of momentum behind this, because we're huge fans of ranked choice voting. So this new partnership is essentially, we are becoming RC's engineering and project management resource, as well as helping them with technology transfer. So on the pure tech side, that means that our CTO will be teaming with Renee to bring operational continuity to the progress of RCTab. So all the things that Renee mentioned earlier are the things that we're helping to develop in a little bit more established manner. On the development side, that means for us dollars. We're bringing our funding engine and resources to bear on ensuring that the project is properly funded. And this means the Bright Spots development team, for example, and other qualified developers can start getting paid as desired or required. On the tech transfer side, we're really pleased and blessed with a solid legal team. I mean, the entire OSET Institute has its roots in Apple and Netscape and Sun Microsystems. But our IP team is led by Heather Meeker, one of the 2 or 3 top open source IP lawyers in the country. And today we're announcing the extension of the open source licensing program, working closely with Chris Hughes at the RC Center, that's going to make possible the licensing of RCTab to commercial concerns, while sustaining and maintaining the open source nature and all that goes with it. So this will involve leveraging the MPL, the Mozilla Public License version 2, for those commercial organizations who need it, and continuing with the GPL v3 for everyone else. So it'll be a combination licensing scheme, much like we use here with the OSET public license for our work. So that's really the balance of it. We're just really excited to have this thing coming together so that we can provide some program management resources and code curation for Renee and Chris, some development resources in terms of funding, and that technology transfer agency to help those commercial concerns who are interested in licensing RCTab for inclusion in their products and services. Entertain questions on that. John Sebas, our CTO, is going to be here today, had a bit of a domestic disruption, so our email addresses are there. We'd love to hear from you, and I'll give it back to you, Renee. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, it's a very exciting time. I'm really happy to be a part of RCTab, and I look forward to kind of working with OSET as we progress further and the development of RCTab. That kind of brings us to our Q&A portion of the presentation here. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up here. Chris is giving us a shout out. Long live RCTab, of course. I got to get maybe a flag made up for RCTab. We'll get something going. Now, I see here one of the first questions I'm looking at. Can you speak to what analysis has been done on RCTab versus the VVSG 2.0 requirements? VVSG is the Voluntary Voting System Guidelines set up by the EAC. They're suggestions or strong suggestions on requirements for voting systems. A lot of states follow that as far as their requirements for voting systems. Hilton's taken off. Thanks for joining us, Hilton. Have a good day. Now, as far as VVSG 2.0, we have been working on making sure RCTab meets those requirements, but those are constantly changing. They're not yet finalized, but last I checked, last I kind of looked into it, we are in a good spot, and we'll continue to adjust to try to meet those requirements, especially as they become official and when they become adopted. My goal is to make sure we meet those and that, if possible, exceed them. Next up, we have, does RCTab produce accessible output? Looks like there was an issue with round-by-round results because they did not meet ADA standards. This one, I am not sure. I don't believe we can have RCTab itself produce those, but there is RCViz. Let me go ahead and see if we get that open. RCViz is a great visualizer. I really enjoy using it because it just makes everything look so cool. Let me get that open here. I have to make sure I'm logged in first before I share my screen for you guys. All right, let's go ahead and share screen. Okay, so visualizer, RCViz. Here we are. And as you remember, during the presentation, when we created our results, I said there was a results JSON. That's what we'll use to create a visualization here. As I said, there's a login. Let's go ahead and select a file. This is the JSON we just created. And once again, I'm not sure if this will meet your ADA requirements, but we'll go ahead and show you what it looks like, and we can go from there. Let's go ahead and you have some customization options. I won't really go through those. We'll just get this taken care of. And as you can see, you have various options for how it will display the results. This is probably my favorite one here, this bar graph, but it's interactive. It shows you where votes went with each round and who was eliminated. And you can also select a few different options here, like Sansky. You can get a summary table. And all of these can be exported. You can print them out, or you can add them to your own website. And Chris is chiming in on the chat. I'm not really an ADA expert either, but it is something we should probably look into. Okay, it looks like we have another question about the election rules tab. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and get that open. Let's get RCTab back up here. So the question is, I didn't see anything suggesting support of batch elimination. Now, it will go ahead and run batch eliminations here and winning rules. Like I said, anybody that, if they're not mathematically able to win, RCTab will eliminate them from the process and continue on. And it's just a checkbox here. Let's see here. I'm just looking through the questions right now. Let's see. One is about OPA vote. That one I'm not too sure about. It looks like Chris kind of addressed that. I would have to get some clarification and reach out on that if more clarification was needed on that question. All right, so it looks like, let's see here. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that unless we have any more questions here. It looks like Chris is doing a pretty good job of answering some of these questions here. Unless there's anything anybody would like to see, we'll continue on with the presentation. There's only one or two slides. All right, let's get these slides going again. Here we go. So, this is a great webinar. If anybody has any additional questions regarding RCTab or any of the things that the Ranked Choice Voting Resource Center offers, feel free to reach out to us. Our website is rcvresources.org. We have a general info email, info@rcvresources.org, as well as we're available on most social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. This recording will be posted on our website later for a review. And once again, we are a 501c3 nonprofit that depends on the generosity of our donors to provide webinars and other resources. If you would like to make a donation to support our work, head over to our website at www.rcvresources.org/donate. Sponsorship opportunities are also available for our webinar series. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor, please contact our Director of Development and Communications, Kelly Seacrest at kellyseacrest@rcvresources.org. Thank you for the support, everybody. And if there are no final questions here, we'll go ahead and call it a day. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thanks, Renee.
Thank you, Renee.
Have a good one. Thank you, Greg and Trina.
Thank you.
Looks like there's still some activity in the chat. We'll go ahead and follow up where necessary, and we'll reach out via email to get those answers. Once again, this webinar will be available on our website, as well as a transcript with links for some of the references here. Thank you, and have a good day, everyone.